which run from April to March. My students must listen to me. I demand it on campus, I demand it here. Listen to me, especially you. Those lines that go below the zero line represent deficits. So since 2007-8, the government has been borrowing money to pay civil servants, and that is precisely why those lines represent deficits. That is, the government has spent more money than it had in revenue. As a consequence of that, in order for the government to spend, it has had to tax the people of Barbados. And in the year 2010, at the end of the year, the government increased the value-added tax to 17.5%. It increased the excise tax by 50%. It put up professional fees, and you will see next that that has contributed to the cost of living rising in the year 2011 beyond the average for the region. In fact, for the first time in our history, Barbados' cost of living is now rising three times faster than the average in the region. And indeed, if I were able to, when I start 2009, 2010, and 2011 plus 2012 on top of each other, that tells you to the extent to which the cost of living has increased in Barbados over the last 5 years. These are just the individual years, but over the last 5 years, you have hurt. Because if there are any public sector workers in this audience, raise your hand if you want to dance. You know that you have not had an increase in salary since 2008. But prices have risen to put you in the worst position that you have been in for the last 20 years or more in this country. Next slide. The next slide will show you what has happened. You have heard a discussion in this country about whether or not we have adequate foreign reserves. Well, we have very adequate foreign reserves in this country. In fact, our reserves are $550 million more than we need. And it is because the economy has so contracted that we are not now using the foreign reserves that we have the way we used them before. As a consequence, this chart tells you, that mauve line tells you that the total economy has declined over the last 4 to 5 years in Barbados. But that little yellow line is what we call non-tradable. That is what we spend on local things. When we go and buy vegetables, when we go and get hairdos, when we go to the dentist, when we go to the lawyer, when we go to the supermarket, when we spend on local things, that has also declined. And the blue line is another decline, what we call the tradable sector. That is our interaction with the rest of the world. But believe you me, while every other sector has fallen, that green bar there represents government. Only the government sector in Barbados has increased. Apart from a 1.2% increase in the financial sector, the government sector has increased by over 10% since the year 2008 to 2012. Now, the only way that can happen, people, is if somebody has lost, because governments do not produce things for sale. So they have exploited us with their taxation. They have hurt us with their taxation. They have increased the cost of living with their taxation. At whose expense? Next. Now, you have been told that Barbados somehow is hurting because the rest of the world is hurting. What happened to Barbados is this, and you can recall with me, in the year 2008, may he rest in peace, imposed a lot of taxes on you at the end of 2008. Can you remember it? And that contributed to the contraction of the Barbados economy, apart from what was happening internationally, to such an extent that that blue bar over 2009 represents Barbados' decline in the economy, while that green bar represents Latin America and the Caribbean, and the red bar represents the world economy. So the Barbados economy declined by more than all the other countries in the region and by more than the countries around the world on average. And what is remarkable is that in a declining economy, the government sought to impose further taxes on the economy in the year 2010. You might not recall, but the governor of the central bank was able to make an economy that declined increase. And here's how it happened. If you weigh me in my clothes with my shoes on, I must be heavier than if I'm naked. Somehow, the governor was able to say that prices in Barbados declined in the year 2010, and as a result, he managed to squeeze out, put back up that chart, he managed to squeeze out some increase in the economy. But here what's happened. Barbados' economy has not grown in 2010, it has not grown in 2011, and it is at zero in 2012. But the rest of the world is growing while Barbados is in decline. It cannot be the case that our situation is purely because of what is happening internationally. Next. Because tonight is a serious night. Now, we were told that we don't have adequate reserves. Now, I'm telling you this, and I cannot be disputed. Nobody can refute what I'm saying. No one. I don't care where he's from. Barbados has more reserves, has had more reserves over the last 5 years, on average, than at any other time in our history. Why? Because we have not been importing the amount of goods as a consequence of the fact that our economy has shrunk. And because it is shrinking, it therefore means we don't have to use as much foreign reserves. So we are in a condition where Barbados is able, contrary to what is being said, to do what I'm telling you. The Barbados economy can be stimulated by giving tax relief to you, the good people of Barbados, in the way in which we will show you next. This is a serious night. All I'm saying to you is this. We are going to reduce the value-added tax on electricity from 17.5% to 15%. You can recall that the Democrat-led party promised you that they will remove VAT on electricity in the last election. It never happened. It could not have happened because they did not do any research. It would have cost the government in excess of $80 million to be able to do that. And therefore, the promise was a false promise that they could not keep. I am telling you that we have done our research, and that reduction in VAT on electricity will cost us only $12 million in a fiscal year. But we are also going to reduce the VAT on food back to 15 where it is applicable, and that will cost us $6 million. Doesn't stop there, because how could you complain about the British government imposing a tax on travel when you are here at home imposing taxes on hotel accommodation, on food costs, increasing transportation, excise taxes, and everything else, and you are complaining about the British doing what they had to do? It is deceitful. It is deceitful for you not to take measures to make you more competitive, and then you complain about what the British are doing. Next. We are going to reduce and give you back your travel-free and entertainment-free allowances. By the way, it will only cost $20 million. And we have calculated that we can give back 1% of the gross domestic product, which is $90 million, and you will find out by the time I finish that I would not have even reached there. So, we are giving you back your entertainment and travel allowance. It can be done. It is easy to do. There's no magic in it. The other thing we're doing, we collect $106 million in property taxes per year. However, commercial entities pay 80% of that amount. So in fact, we can afford, given that residential properties only contribute $21 million to that collection, we can afford to relieve you of 50% of your improved value at a cost of merely $11 million. It will be done. Next. Now, apart from being a compulsive liar, Sinclair also does not understand figures. And I've said it repeatedly because he has told lies on me. He does not understand figures. In the budget last year, he confused assessable income with taxable income. Your assessable income is your income that you've earned. Your taxable income is your assessable income minus allowances and deductions upon which the marginal tax rate is applied. He confused himself so much that when he went back to the Ministry of Finance, they told him, Mr. Minister, you just did nonsense in the budget. So Barbados, as it stands now, has two marginal tax rates. At the bottom, 17.5%. At the top, 35%. The gap is too wide. We are going to introduce another tax tier between $35,000 and $1 to $50,000 of taxable income at a rate of 25% income tax. This will also ease you of any pressure. The reverse tax credit, which all of you enjoy. Those of you who earn below $15,000 per year, you get $1,300 now. But however, there is a gap in our tax system because when you earn $25,000 of income in Barbados, you do not pay taxes. However, the qualification income for the reverse tax credit is $15,000. Therefore, there's a gap. We are going to narrow that gap by increasing the qualification income to $20,000. It will not cost us much. Next. In Barbados, Barbados is an aging population. And lots of us have to take care of our mothers, our grandmothers, and what this government has done in making drugs very expensive by taking them off of the formulary, we have determined that if you have your mother and you want to take care of her because you're working, somebody has to do it, we are going to offer you a care and allowance to take care of the elderly. It is not much. It doesn't stop there, because these measures are within what we have identified. We have identified that we can afford to give back $90 million in tax relief, and we are also going to take $40 million from BNOC, because BNOC is now making $60 million in profit per year off of your backs. This is how it works. BNOC buys or sells oil to the Barbados Light and Power. In any given month, the Barbados Light and Power anticipates what your electricity usage will be. Based on the price of the oil, they divide the price by the amount of electricity which they anticipate in the coming month, and that is what you see on your electricity bill as the fuel adjustment clause. It is too high. It is too high because BNOC is making too much money. And it is making money because you are being made to pay excessive fuel adjustment clause that is hurting you. All we are doing, people, is that the Barbados economy needs to be brought back to life. And we're going to do it because we can afford to do it. And more importantly, it is the only way to get us out of the rut that we're in. But this government does not understand the issues. Therefore, what I have just presented to you, I was hoping that some of you might have had the little brochure, I think you do, which I had, right? So all that's there is contained in this little brochure. The bigger fella at the back, you will be able to see that the manifesto, when it comes, will be online, and you can go there and see it, and there will be hard copies. So it is all here for you. Let me therefore tell you that we are serious on this side because these are serious times for serious men to engage you, the good people of Barbados. We don't have time to talk about anybody's pooch. We don't have time for that. We are serious people who intend to engage only in serious matters from this day onward. We will not be looking at the whole set of lies, because can you imagine a man comes to you, talks about privatization, which you're now seeing, talks about it, identifies National Housing, Transport Board, Sanitation Authority, and now is seeking to back away. And when mature people try to engage him in a conversation, he tells the public of Barbados they're meeting at the University of the West Indies, that is Oinata, Tyrone Barker, Clyde Mascoll, and Anthony Wood, and that they have written a document to say that people will be sent home. Now, it does not make sense, people, and I end on this note. What we need in Barbados is not only for you to have more people working, and therefore it will be silly for any government to send home any public sector worker at this time, because Barbados needs more spending power. And that is what we are doing for you, because we are convinced that the government is in a position to handle the additional spending, because we have what it takes, the foreign reserves, to cushion the stimulus which we intend to grant you. Come the 21st of February, vote for the right thing, vote for progress, vote for a better tomorrow. Good night, may God bless.
Tell me what you want, Barbados, stand up!